And I welcome you to the January 21st Unionville Town Board meeting. We'll open with a pledge to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes from December 17th, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Like to request a couple amendments here to the agenda. I would like to move the bike race topic to the A in new business. And also add a resolution for the tax assessor as E in new business. We learned earlier today that the resolution we have didn't meet the county's requirements, so we have one that does. And then I would also like to schedule an executive session after paying the bills to interview a candidate for the planning board. Motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Second on that?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Just finance report here. So this is end of December. And in a general checking account, we had 205,821. In miscellaneous receipts, we had 1,622. General money market fund, we have 63,964. In our general New York class, we have 2,760,272. New York class reserve is 5,199 for a total of 3,036,878. Highway checking is 106,955. Highway money market 17,139. Highway New York class 32,882. Highway New York class, the West Clove Bridge account is 613,306. And New York class equipment reserve for highway is 182,168 for a total of 951,650. Total is 3,988,528. We've had several storms here since our last meeting, and I wanted to thank both the Highway Department and Parks Department for keeping the roads and our parking areas here clear. And they also take care of the fire districts. And that's basically all I have. Councilman Redinger.
I've been looking into a program that Unionville could qualify for called the Highlands Conservation Act. It's a federally approved program through Congress that extends through 2029. Unionville could qualify if we were to apply for that, but I haven't done all the research yet. So I'll gather the research and revert to the board with the information so we can discuss it.
Very good, thank you. Councilman Derlin.
Not really much to report other than just the agenda item.
Okay. Councilman Gibney.
Just like to echo what Supervisor Frazier said about the Parks and Highway crew. They did a real bang up job these past couple storms. A lot of snow, a lot of ice this year. We're expecting more this weekend. So I'd like to thank them for their efforts. Also, tax bills have gone out. You should have got them by now. If you have not received a tax bill, please reach out to our tax collector, Kay Sagal-Benny, and she can get you a copy of that. Tax bills will be due at the end of February. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Town clerk.
Next year marks our 200th birthday of the town of Unionville. So we are asking for residents to volunteer to be on our committee to furnish ideas. If you are an event planner or you have experience in just living here, we would love to hear your input. So please email me and we will add you to our committee list. Also, we have, of course, our recycling center permits for sale. So if you haven't gotten one, the permit police will be out in February. So be sure that you do. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna back up one second because we have had a couple of weather events on weekends when the recycle center is open. Any morning that there is snow on the ground, check your our website and find out whether we've delayed the opening. So sometimes takes a little bit to get the parking lot safe for you. We also have the text system that you can subscribe to, and we will be sending out text messages to that effect if there's a delay in opening the recycle center. Highway Superintendent.
Okay, as you all already commented, we've had several pretty serious weather events. I've had several comments on salt usage that the town is doing. So we did a little experiment and cut our salt with some chipstone last go around last storm. The result wasn't very favorable. As far as our salt consumption or usage, we are pretty much on target with what the state is recommending, pounds per linear mile of road. On the low side, they're saying use about 800 pounds per mile on a mild storm. In a more severe storm, you're looking at about 1,200 pounds per mile. We're pretty close to that target. And if you look at other roads, county roads, other townships, at the end of the storm, their roads are just as gray, if not grayer than ours. So we're right on target with our salt usage, but we're trying to keep the roads as safe as we can for the public as well. So that being said, we're going to be putting some salt down this weekend as well. We have a very severe storm coming up this weekend. Please limit your travel as much as possible. We will be on the roads, taking care of them. Equipment breaks down. Your road may not get done as quick as your neighbor's road, but we will get there. Third thing on my thing is we have some surplus equipment that the board needs to approve that we can put up for auction. There's actually 4 trucks and the trailer that was replaced last year, plus some miscellaneous snow blades that we don't use any longer. So at some point, we'd like to have a list of that given to the board and approve the sale of those things.
Yeah, if you want to email me that list, I'll get it to the board for the next meeting.
Okay. Then we really should be talking about a new small dump for the highway department. At some point, our 2 smaller dumps are pretty much not worth putting much more money into.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I have.
Very good. Animal control, Councilman Redinger, would you mind reading that for us?
Sure. Animal control report for December 2025. During the month of December, there were no lost dogs or found dogs. There were 11 complaint calls regarding a residence dog. Respectfully submitted, Mary Jean Calvi, Animal Control Officer.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite our county legislator, Joe Tresca, up. He has a few words.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Tresca. I'm the county legislator for Unionville. Just a little update in the county, what's going on. The Department of not corrections, I'm sorry. The Department of Probation and Community Corrections has a new director, Allison Gaffney. She's been with the county since 2009. She has 30 years of experience in the probation and social work industry areas, and she's going to be a good addition to the county. And the other thing was a lot of people did reach out just having questions generally. And one of them actually had a question specific to Unionville with a project that was going on. And I just want to thank Councilman Rettinger. I reached out to him and we had a good exchange and he was able to provide me with the information to keep the residents informed. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Public comment on agenda items? Oh, 1 second. I skipped over this tax collector. I'm sorry. Yeah. Tax collector report, please.
Thank you, Supervisor Fraser.
About that.
Well, Happy New Year to everybody here and congratulations to Steve, Andrea, Josh, Kevin Harrington, myself, Andrea Moline, Ed Kading, and Joe Tresca for last year's election. You haven't seen me since 2025. I also want to wish John Welsh and George Kolb a very, very happy retirement, and I cannot wait to get to those years. I ended up sending out all of our bills on January 5th, 2026. There's been quite a few people in Burbank that have not received them. I'm not sure what's going on with that post office. It was 1,986 parcels that we did send, that we did receive here for our town. 997 bills did go out. Andrea, thank you for all your help on that. Andrea is also sworn in as the deputy with, for myself. I appreciate it with Cynthia. So on Mondays when I'm not here, she's able to receive the taxes. Our office hours to collect the taxes are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 to 4, and Saturdays from 9 to 12 to the end of March. If you do need myself, you're not comfortable or any, I don't know why, to give to Andrea. You can call me and I would be right here. That's not a problem. Also, our drop box is open 24/7, and that gets checked throughout the day. So you can please put it in there. And also remember, please, 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 if you do mail it, get it hand stamped at the post office. If we do, for some reason, catch it after February 28th and it's hand stamped, I will not charge you a penalty. If it is past the 28th and it's not hand stamped, then unfortunately I have to charge you. We also have the access on our website. You can do e-check. It's $1.75. That takes a couple days for it to clear value payment. Then it hits my account and then I can clear it in there. Credit cards are 2.45%, and that's on the purchase. So whatever percentage your tax bill is, then that's what you're going to be charged. For this year, our town is going to collect $3,559,113.89, which is a difference of $49,880.44 from last year. Steve, would you like me to go through what general funds and highway and fire are going to collect, or do you want to just
That
post that?
information's available. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, so I'm going to skip all of that to you guys. So our total warrant that we will be collecting in the town of Unionville for ourselves, the county fire and Burbank sewage is going to be $6,202,443.71. We did get school taxes that were retroed into our tax bills. That was a total of 100, and that's the 3 school districts that we carry here, which is Dover, Millbrook, and Arlington. Unfortunately, they weren't able to pay those districts, so it's going to come back into our tax office here. And then as of to date, we have 9%, which I'm sure our finance Sarah is going to be very happy to hear. I'll be able to cut her a couple checks shortly, which gives us a total of almost 600,000. So again, if you guys need anything, reach out to Andrea. If I'm not here, myself, my phone's always on, and I'm more than happy to help all of you. And I can't wait to see how this year goes and look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, back to public comment on agenda items, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Harsey, 39 Liberty Way. I'm here to comment on the agenda item in regards to RD 10, which is filed tonight under old business. The town has put a new resolution on the website, and in this new resolution, the new resolution is defined as a typographical update with no substantive change to the proposed local law. And tonight you're all considering reopening a public hearing on this topic. I'm disappointed to hear that there is no substantive change, because that means that the members of the community who came out during several public hearings and the comments and concerns that they voiced were neither addressed nor considered. For those unfamiliar with RD10 code change, the change allows for the removal of a conference center and the addition of a catering facility, while lowering the acreage requirement from 100 acres to 75 and allowing for a violation of our Unionville local noise ordinance from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Many residents came out over the course of several public hearings to speak against this, not just me, but over a dozen Unionville residents attended in opposition and several others wrote letters against the proposed law. These residents expressed valid concerns about traffic, drunk driving, noise disturbances, impact on residential home values, and the belief that this law was an effort to spot zone vacant land located at 1830 Brusco Road. During these public hearings, only 3 people came out to speak in favor of the proposed law change. Joseph Fiscaldo, a developer who planned to build a wedding venue at 1830 Brusco Road, a real estate agent, Diana Lenz-Weimer, who is the listing agent for 1830 Brusco Road, and Michael Coates, a self-proclaimed friend of Joseph Fiscaldo. What became incredibly clear over the course of the public hearings and the results of numerous studies paid for with taxpayer dollars is that the RD code change is not about RD10. It is about 1830 Brusco Road, an 80-acre parcel owned by the Feihofer family atop Brusco Road. It's not simply a theory. When this meeting was being held tonight, I read all 229 pages labeled data on RD10 posted on the Unionville's new beautiful website. The majority of the information provided was about 1830 Brusco Road. More than 50% of the data directly references the proposed plans for the property, the lot itself, the owners, or the developer. I understand that this developer has moved on at this point, but I also understand this property is still listed for sale. The current online listing for the property as of today refers to it as a commercial or a residential subdivision with zone 310 village center zoning. I have a copy of it that I will give to the board after my statement. Per the zoning map on our county website and per every public hearing discussion to date, that is not the correct zoning for 1830 Brusco Road. My husband called the broker about a month ago under absolutely no false pretense whatsoever and inquired about the status of the property. He specifically asked her about the zoning, and she said he would need to speak to this town board to clarify, as they are currently working to redistrict it.
Need you to wrap it up, please.
Finally, and most poignantly, through the Freedom of Information Act, this very board provided me with this text message exchange between Town Supervisor Frazier and Diana Lenz-Weimer, the broker representing 1830 Brusco Road. The text states, and I quote, from Diana to Steve. Hi, Steve. Please confirm the Freihofer sale is on the schedule for this Wednesday. Rose says she didn't see it and is concerned, and I know that Joe Fiscaldo has reached his limit as well. Steve replied, I'm sending an email to the attorney to confirm he's ready. I'll let you know as soon as I hear. The delays have been from the attorneys and due to the threatened lawsuit for spot zoning. They want to be absolutely certain they don't want to give the opponents any avenue to win the case against us. I have that text message exchange photocopied here. It's not lost on me that RD10 is listed under old business tonight, just as it was for the public hearing and the town meeting that was referenced here.
I've given you an extra minute here, so I need you to.
No one else was given a time restraint when they came up here tonight.
Nobody else, the rest were reports. This is open public hearing, or not public hearing, it's public comment. They're limited to 3 minutes. You're at 4.5 now.
Then I will wrap up. I strongly urge you all to vote against the resolution to repropose the RD10 change and reject the public hearing. This board did not listen to the comments of the public the first time. The majority of the data provided by the town website illustrates that this is still about 1830 Brusco Road. And I believe the continued use of taxpayer dollars in these efforts is a misappropriation of funds.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? 3 minutes, sir.
Hans Hardesty, 39 Liberty Way. I know she went over in time, so I'm not going to extend. A couple quick things. I know that the town has spent an exorbitant amount. Actually, I wanted to start. Congratulations to everybody that won your election. I've got family that works in politics. I know how hard it is. You all deserve kudos. So congratulations to all of you, including you, Mr. Supervisor, and welcome to the new council member. Real quick. We did talk about tax bills. We just got ours. The taxes in that area, including Liberty Way, are pretty high. This property is 80 acres. You could build 8 homes on it. 8 homes in the $35,000 range each. We're talking about well over $250,000 in tax revenue. I think that that should also be considered before any zoning change happens, including the property of Brusgal Road. In addition on that topic, before we got to the ending here, I believe the town has spent about $40,000 in attorney fees, pushing $50,000 in attorney fees alone, plus planners. It's been very clear from the numerous residents here that there's some serious issues that they did not want Brusgal Road turned into a wedding venue. We are concerned that this tax revenue should be considered, as well as all of the town residents' concerns. And finally, the funds that are being spent on the attorneys and the planners at this point is really a misuse of funds by the town. They could be going to much better places, frankly. I hate public speaking, and I've said that from the very beginning. But the fact is, the town doesn't want it. It's too much money being spent in the wrong place. And backing up, the reason we are here is because this one property on Brusgal Road specifically. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. New business, Jason? If you'd like to step up to the podium. We've been approached to host a bike race here. I mentioned it at the last meeting, and we have more details on it, and Jason's here to give us a little explanation and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Cairo. I'm the league director for National Interscholastic Cycling here in New York. Over 30 states participating countrywide in this program. We started our league in 2013 with about 40 students, and we have grown to over 300 and starting a new conference on Long Island and west of Syracuse in the next 4 years. I want to thank the board and everyone here for giving me a chance to come up, tell you a little something about our league and why we'd like to come to Unionvale and hold a race. On a side note, I've raced here Timor Park a couple of times. Last time I raced here was 2012, was the last year that I raced. This was probably one of the last races that I participated in before I started my mission of getting more kids on bikes and holding races and camps in New York State. We're a youth development program, grades 5 through 12 participate, boys and girls, in a setting that all are welcome. They can participate either racing or just riding with their teams. They make new friends from different parts of the state, friends they may not have had otherwise, right? It's a club, and the sport, some kids don't even have a sport to pick, so they pick biking because it's pretty casual. It's a sport for life. Mom and dad get involved, and we're really having a really good vibe going over the last. This is our 13th year, lucky number 13 without COVID. So we put on 5 races each season in the springtime, and we bounce around the state to kind of give everybody a home field advantage. Other times we like to come to towns that have no team so we can kind of showcase what we do and perhaps start a new club in that village. Again, having a little bit of a tie of a race history here, and speaking with some of the folks from the Fats and the Cats Bicycle Club. Timor Park was put back on my radar, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to come on by Unionvale and show you what we do, and perhaps a club can blossom from us being up here this coming April if y'all will have us.
Okay. Board members have any? Well, I'll just add that Jason assured me that they'll have enough personnel here to ensure that this is run safely, and they have experienced personnel. We have EMS people on here and monitors that'll be watching the race in case anything does happen their way, ready to respond to it. Anybody have any questions for them?
Are there any local clubs around here for
The
kids to
closest
join?
club my mapping is off. The closest club would be in Peekskill, would be the Blue Mountain Composite. There was a team out of New Paltz for a hot minute, and the coach moved away and the team kind of sat down. But we're always looking for a new coach to bring that team back up and out. And just to echo what Stephen just said, yeah, we do come with, for the whole weekend, probably close to 100 volunteers. Course marshals, they're doing hand-ups. We have a feed zone. We have a neutral bike support zone. We have sweeps that go around each category. We have roving course marshals, roving EMTs, static EMTs, parking attendants. We have core volunteers that run our merchandise tent, registration tent, our volunteer tents run by a few folks, and our chief course marshal tent. So yeah, there's a lot going on. We tend to show up here. I always like to come a little bit early, like on a Friday afternoon, kind of get the lay of the land. Once again, they'll be up here quite often. And we would like to also have some days where the kids from the local teams, there's a team in Pleasantville, Blue Mountain, and teams that can make it. We would like to come and do some, we have a teen trail corp program right now where kids come out and they put shovels in the dirt, kind of get the course ready, whatever else the town may need to, clean up some trails. We can get some hands out here, coaches and students, and they earn points. And at each race, we announce who has the most points. They get a sticker or a patch. And at the end of the year, the rider that's accrued the most hours wins a pretty cool trail tool. So Friday, we arrive here, kind of, check everything out. And then Saturday morning around 9 a.m., our volunteers show up to set up the infield and the course. Around 1 o'clock, we have a girls ride, a grit ride, it's called. Girls Ride Together. This is a great time for our female riders to get together. They have all sorts of programming that they do together. Sometimes they do a bike maintenance class. Sometimes they just go over fitness. Other times they just get together and make spirit rocks to put out on the trail and encourage other riders to kind of go get it. And then they do a ride together and the course is closed. After that, 3 o'clock, it's a open field for teams to go out. In order for a rider to go out, they must have a race tag on and be with their team. So they are constantly, guided by their coaches. 5 o'clock comes, put all the animals back in the cage. We leave the infield up. The course is left up. Some team tents are left overnight if it's okay. And the next morning around 6 a.m., folks start showing up again for another quick pre-ride around the course if they missed Saturday afternoon. And races start around 9:30. And we're usually done by 4 o'clock as awards. Every race, we do an awards ceremony. 4 o'clock, 4:30, 4:45. If you can tell we were here, you win a prize because we kind of leave places either in better shape or the same way we found them. So we just, we love putting on races for kids and we feel like kids ourselves and we get to ride our bikes. And yeah, I could go on and on, but I'm sure you have other, items too.
Okay.
Is this like a rain or shine type event where if the weather doesn't cooperate, you still go on or?
We usually will go by the town's guidelines. We have held a few races in light rain. Sometimes in the morning we get a little bit of rain. We'll postpone that race, and as long as we're not damaging the trails or anything else in the area, we'll hold the race. I know there's some fields that we would be parking in, so we always look for a plan B. So if it does rain and you don't want us in those fields, where will we put these cars? Race 1, that's what this would be in April. We have about 240 riders that race with us each race, but race 1 tends to be a little bit lighter just because kids are still practicing. We have teams from Rochester. We have a couple of teams out near Utica. We have a couple of teams in the Adirondacks, and they may not feel race ready. So it's a best of 4 out of 5 races. So they kind of use that as their throwaway, and they come to the other 4. So as long as there's a plan B for parking and we don't damage the trails, we will race, in wet weather. Snow we won't race in, thunder and lightning, and under 31 degrees for the whole day, we won't race either.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anybody else with questions? Okay. What's the feeling here of the board? I'd like to have the attorney draw up a resolution to approve this at the next meeting if we're all on board with it.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a good event.
I mean, we've had races in the past time where I think it's suiting, place to have a race.
Yeah.
Great place for a race.
Anything that gets kids outside in the real world right now is
Yeah.
really
We're
beneficial.
trying.
So
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
trying, yes, indeed. And we do bring a nice little economic impact to the area. We, just hotels will get, used up, restaurants will get used up. I know, I'm not sure if camping's open at that time, but if it is, or you wanted to open it earlier, I know we've got some eager parents that love camping out, right close to the race venue. So we're, I know it's our first year and, I want to make you happy and impress you all. So you tell us, how to do that, and we'll try to get as close to the mark as we can.
Okay,
Nice.
we'll have the attorney drawing up and you can consider that we're going to approve this at the next meeting.
That's fantastic.
As far as any documentation, here comes the bad guy.
No. This is what I need to know.
The lawyer being a lawyer.
As far as documentation that you may, we can talk offline. If I can get your contact information, I'd be curious to see what course models, we got to map it out of what it's going to look like here as well. And then if there's waivers and indemnifications and other aspects, so I'm sure if you're running these things everywhere, you have these proposals. So that information, we can touch base and I can review all that.
Indeed, yeah. We usually put together a map with an emergency evacuation plan.
Perfect.
And our EMTs map out for us. Our EMTs, by the way, are emergency room technicians, and that's who we bring with us. They're here all the time. Every rider is waivered for the season through NICA. And everywhere we go, we will write up an insurance policy that you would like, naming whoever you need us to name and is additionally insured. Any damage to the property, trails, or buildings, we're right there. So I believe it's 3 million with a 2 million aggro, but that doesn't do it. You let us know and we'll fix that as well.
So you can leave me a card.
Yeah,
we
sure.
We can discuss the fine print, so to speak.
That sounds great.
All right,
All
great.
right. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that brings us to the extended warranty on the constable vehicle. We got the extended warranty on the highway truck. I think it'd be a good idea, again, on the constable vehicle. The price of parts replacements anymore.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. There's like between 20 and 30 computer modules in these trucks. And they're around $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, and I have the same model truck for work, and I know I got it with 32,000 and it already had a new transmission put in that was covered under the original warranty, but that gets very expensive.
So Ford has different levels of warranty or extended warranties available. I discounted the first one because it was strictly a drivetrain warranty. So the next three levels here are what I brought to the table. Each one of these is set up for a 10-year lifespan and 125,000 miles total. The lowest coverage starts at 4,405 for the length of the warranty, and then the highest one is 6,505. I went through and read everything on them. I mean, of course, the top one pretty much covers everything on the vehicle. The second one covers quite a few of the computer modules that I was concerned about. The base one doesn't, or the second base care they call it, doesn't really cover too many of the computer modules other than engine control. So I'm looking at, the two of them above, and like I said, the amount of one computer module likely cover the difference in cost between the two levels there. So I don't, I'm open to other opinions here.
No, we spent more than these policies, repairing some of the past vehicles like the old Parks truck.
Right.
We spent that over that in exhaust.
Yeah, that was 15,000 by the time it was done.
I mean, the premium.
Just to get rid of it.
basically a bumper to bumper.
Right.
So it's 10 years, it's a vehicle, you need to be reliable, constable vehicle. I assume that's going to pay for itself over 10 years, especially with the components that are going to break. So just my opinion, that would make.
My truck is a 2021 and I purchased the extended warranty. It's out of the factory warranty and I've already recovered my premium on that.
Yep. I've done the same for my pickup truck too.
Yeah.
Kind of think it's a no-brainer. Multiple people driving it.
Yeah.
It's an essential vehicle.
Yeah.
Just
Agreed.
I think we should do it.
You're looking at the premium car, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, we'll have the attorney bring us a resolution for the next meeting then on that package. Okay, Balloon Festival. Their application came in right around budget time and I missed it with all that going on. But they would like to come back on I think it's Labor Day weekend, right? The end of September. And would like to come back and run their program again.
Beginning of September.
You're right. Yeah. Beginning of September.
4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yep. We all know the deal there.
Yep. Similar schedule.
Yep. So if any questions or anything, if you're on board with that.
Yeah, we've had no issues in the past, all the years they've been here. I mean, it just seems to get better and better, fine-tuned every year they're here, so
Yeah, the residents have a great time.
yeah.
I'm all for it.
And then they've also discounted resident, tickets to residents. by
Yeah, about half
50%.
off.
So, yeah. But we'll have more on that as it comes up. So I'll send back this contract then to them that we're going forward.
Great.
Okay, got a message from Loretta Ryan, the equestrian director. They had in 2025, they had collected donations of $35.15 to operate the contests that they ran. And they didn't disperse the prize monies because of weather. They had to cut the one show first, short, and then the second one, they didn't get enough interest into it. That all went back into fund balance. And she had asked whether we could reallocate that $35.15 back to her. So she can put it in towards the 2026 events.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of that. She does a real good job over there running those programs. And again, it's something else that brings the community together and the residents have a great time.
Agreed. They operate on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And most of it's volunteer. Tons of people will throw in money and all that, including this money here. I think we should give it back to them.
Yeah, they always have a great program down there with all the events. Yeah.
Yeah, and they also bring the fire department in. The fire department provides the food and gives them an opportunity for fundraising and community relations. And it's a good thing all around.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back and revisit this again next month or next meeting. That brings us to the resolution for the assessor. As I mentioned, the county was not pleased with the reorg resolution that we had. So we have this one that's prepared that meets their requirements. Councilman Durlin, would you like to read that?
Sure. Town of Unionville Town Board Resolution number what?
We'll have to add that.
Okay. Resolution appointing town assessor. Whereas real property tax law, paragraph 310 establishes that the appointed assessor of a municipality shall serve a 6-year term beginning October 1st and ending September 30th on the 6th year thereafter. And whereas the town assessor, Eric Axelson's term expired on September 30th, 2025, and he has advised the town board that he is not seeking reappointment as assessor. Whereas A vacancy in the office of Town Assessor was created on October 1st, 2025, and the Town of Unionville was required to appoint an assessor to fulfill the duties in accordance with New York State law. And whereas on or about September 17th, 2025, the Town Board of the Town of Unionville, by resolution, appointed Kathy Martin as Town Assessor. And whereas the Town of Unionville seeks to change assessors and hereby appoints Robert Taft to replace Kathy Martin as the Town Assessor to fill the balance of the current term ending on September 30th, 2031. And whereas the Town Board of the Town of Unionville has determined that Robert Taft is duly qualified to serve as Town Assessor, and whereas Town Assessor is a non-competitive position pursuant to the rules for the classified civil service of Dutchess County. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations above set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The Town Board of the Town of Unionville hereby acknowledges that Kathy Martin has served as Town Assessor with dedication and wishes her all the best in her future endeavors. The Town Board hereby appoints Robert Taft as Town Assessor effective January 1st, 2026 for the balance of the current term expiring on September 30th, 2031 in accordance with real property tax law 310. The town clerk is directed to notify the Dutchess County Director of Real Property Tax Services and the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance of this appointment and provide them with a certified copy of this resolution. The town board hereby authorizes and directs the town supervisor and town bookkeeper to file any and all documentation necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution.
Okay, second on that, please.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Nope. All righty, roll call vote, please.
Sure, and this will be resolution number 21. Councilman Harrington is absent. Councilman Redinger.
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier.
Aye.
Councilman McGivney.
Aye.
Councilman Derland.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I got a phone quote, which I distributed to you. I haven't had anybody return a copy quote to, to make the comparison. I'll work on that again for next meeting. The email that accompanies the quote has the taxes. They can't give us a tax exempt quote until we actually open a tax exempt account with them.
Got it.
So what she did then was give us the numbers unofficially, what they would be without the taxes, comes out to $657.94 a month. I'm still waiting on the printer or copier quote to compare it with the combination quote we had. So I'll come back again next meeting, hopefully with that. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, that brings us to the RD 10 code change. I'd like to introduce Natalie Quinn with KRC Planning.
Hi, nice to meet everybody. So KRC has been working with the town since January 2025 as the planning consultant. But I think this is my first time meeting everybody. So pleasure to be here and speak with you. So what I want to do tonight is there was a number of materials kind of posted on the website with regards to the RD10 local law. So I'll kind of with Jim and Hannah go over those materials, kind of familiarize everybody, remind everybody what's up there. So I'll kind of start with an introduction and Jim, pass it back to you for kind of going over the timeline that we've been through so far. But, early in 2024, which was before KRC was on board, there was a sketch site plan application by a property owner within the RD10, and that went to the planning board. So while those documents are absolutely in the record and they are discussed within the seeker documentation, the application was eventually abandoned due to inactivity and misalignment with the code. And so I think the important part is that the project was tentatively categorized as a conference center, right? Pending additional details that the zoning officer and the zoning board were kind of requesting. So I think the broader scope of that is that the application brought to the attention of town staff and the town board broader issues with conference center as a use within the RD10 district, including the fact that as the code currently stands, it is permitted without clear standards, size limits, or very clear detailed design objectives. And this kind of prevents the planning board from meaningfully evaluating impacts of these uses, right? So rightfully so, this larger issue is being looked at, I think, by the town board in terms of whether conference center is an appropriate use or there are uses that are more appropriate for the RD10. So the text amendment is intended to better align permitted uses with the intent of the RD10 district and the town's master plan, the 2001 master plan. So specifically, the amendment that's in front of you, as you are probably all familiar with, is to remove conference centers as a use and instead permit a more limited and clearly defined catering facility. It also gets called banquet hall with temporary lodging, which, you know, still allows event-based and hospitality uses, is more compatible with rural infrastructure, and is designed to support kind of ag adjacent or farm-based enterprises such as working farms, hosting weddings, farm to table venues, and small scale retreats. The goal is to allow supplementary revenue generating uses that help keep farms and large rural properties viable and together rather than being subdivided, right? That is an intent of the RD10 district to preserve those large parcels. So, you know, but like I said, you'll see, and we can kind of go through the draft local law of the kind of design criteria and review aspects that have been placed on this catering facility use to avoid the risk of kind of larger destination style facilities that don't have considerations of things like landscaping, sufficient setbacks and things like that. So that's kind of, I just wanted to frame how I understand this evolved. I think, Jim, you wanted to go through briefly kind of the process history of this local law in front of the town board. And then I'll come back with kind of, there's a very large record of documents in front of you. So I'll just kind of orient you to what's in there and then talk about the seeker materials.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm here this evening with Hannah Atkinson. We're both from Vanderwaters. And yes, we are here because the board has an interest in proceeding towards the potential adoption of this RD10 amendment. Narrowed down the potential action that you will have before you tonight is a resolution that would accept and authorize the supervisor to sign an amendment to the environmental assessment form, part 1. And everyone can draw their own conclusions, but it's my impression that those changes are not of consequence and they're not of substance. The other action that you'd be looking at tonight is the adoption of a resolution to set another and actually a 4th public hearing on this text amendment zoning issue. Natalie's going to take you through some documents and the changes that I just mentioned in the EAF and in the proposed local law. And as far as the history of this, one of the things that jumped out at me is that the motion, the resolution to set the public hearing in this is not a short one. It goes on for several pages and goes on for several pages purposefully because it does recite the history of this local law. Going back to its initial presentation in the fall of 2024. And I won't go through it paragraph by paragraph, but this matter was twice referred to the county planning department. And on one referral, the county came back and had some suggestions. After changes were made, sent back to the county. The county essentially said, it's a matter of local concern. We have no further comments. It was sent to your planning board. Your planning board did, on the first go round, have one suggestion. When it was referred back to them a second time, they had no further suggestions. I mentioned that this law has been changed twice and reintroduced, all before this evening. And the details of the changes that those modifications brought to it, the refinements, are in the resolution setting the public hearing. As I said, there have been 3 public hearings, and actually the last public hearing, which was May of last year, took place in May. It was continued into June, and it was continued into July. So there has been, on record, quite a bit of opportunity for people to comment on this proposed change. When it was before the board in August, it wasn't for a hearing, but the board members discussed their opinions about this. And the sentiment appeared to be generally that it should move ahead. I'm not saying that was unanimous. It wasn't. But on the other hand, it seemed that the board wanted it. So I think that's what I've got. Again, after Natalie talks about this part 1, the changes to it, you'll be asked if you would like to make and adopt a motion to accept the changes and have the supervisor sign them. And then after the review of the motion is considered, that obviously would be brought to a vote, which you've done several times before. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So I'll go through just quickly, and I think Jim touched on some of these items, but the documents of record, just to kind of orient you to what's in there. It should be materials that you have all seen, but I think this is the first time Hannah did an amazing job of compiling them all into a single document, doing an index and labeling them so you can really easily kind of flip through, both for the board and the public to kind of review the full record. So thank you, Hannah, for doing that work. But so what's in there is the legislative procedural documents that Jim talked about. This local law was revised a number of times based on comments from agencies and the public. So you see those different versions come up of resolutions introducing revised laws with revisions. You see all the public hearing notices and the meeting minutes and everything. So that kind of procedural stuff is in there. You also see seeker materials. So there was a full EAF part 1 that did get slightly updated. So you can see previous versions of that in there. And it does talk about this action as kind of being a town-wide policy change. Because it is a zoning change, it is automatically a type 1 action, which makes you do a full long kind of EAF form, which is the document we're going to go through tonight. The next kind of bucket of materials is referrals and agency responses. So everything Jim talked about is in there in terms of Dutchess County planning's comments, planning board referrals, their advisory comments, the historical context and the triggering materials I talked about in terms of that sketch site plan, everything that you kind of that went in front of the planning board and the ZBA, as well as the zoning officer's kind of response to those materials, that is all in there. And then I think a large part or kind of the substantive analysis portion is the consultant memos in there. This is kind of where the main policy analysis happens in these documents. KRC, there's 4 memos in there from us and I'll kind of go through those really briefly. You also have materials from your engineering consultant who looked at aspects around the changes to this regulation. And kind of discussions of consistency with the comprehensive plan. So the purpose of posting the full record now is obviously for transparency and continuity. It's been a long process, so we wanted everything in one place. But I would say, I mean, review it all, but focus especially, I think, on the memos that address a lot of kind of the content topics that are going to be discussed in the seeker documentation. So just real quick, the memos that you have from KRC, There's one from January of 2025 where we look at the proposed changes to the local law and we analyzed your master plan as well as the intent of the RD10 district and talked about how the proposed changes align and implement that master plan. Your zoning changes should always be aligned with your comprehensive plan. So that memo is very important. And in many ways, by reducing the uses from this larger conference center that is not significantly regulated to the more regulated catering facility, I would argue from a planning perspective that you were bringing your zoning code more in alignment with your master plan. You have another memo from us that was, there was a number of comments made at the public hearing on February 5th. We were asked to kind of review those comments, review the regulations and maybe make changes. So you'll see a substantive changes occurred to the local law after that public hearing and those comments. There was comments in regards to noise, lighting, traffic. And so additional language was added to the regulations to allow the planning board to ask for additional information and look at those and have guidelines to look at that materials when those applications come before them as the site plan applications. And they'll have to kind of go through their own seeker review. And then in April, once the local law was kind of amended or changed, not amended, I'm sorry, revised to address those recommendations that we made. We did another memo on that. And then we finally have a memo. We had cited some sources by Dutchess County Transportation Council in terms of speed limits, kind of road capacities and things like that in the area. So we did a memo to explain those maps that are going to be provided as part of the seeker review. So that's kind of, it's a big document. It's, I think, like I said, over 250 pages, but there is an index at the top. So that kind of hopefully helps you kind of sort through the various pieces, and each of the items are kind of labeled and letter numbered. So with that, I think we will we'll move into, I think, just talking briefly, I think we keep saying there's not substantive changes to the local law or the EAF Part 1, but I think we should talk about those specifically. So the changes to the EAF Part 1, what was changed is on Part 2. This is kind of just something that we do when we do forms. There's a section on Part 2 where it talks about agencies that have approval power over it. We like to add the county in there because the county they don't have approval authority, they're referral only and they're advisory. But so we just added them as an entity that has been reviewing this document and listed it on the EAF form. And then on page 3, the answer to C3C was changed to yes. It's a confusing question. It talks about whether a zoning change is a part of this action and what is the rezone of the parcel. You are not rezoning or spot zoning any individual parcels. You are looking at the RD10 district wholly, and you are making a text amendment to that entire zone that is appropriate for all parcels within this district. So the former, I think whoever filled out the form before KRC had said no, probably because they looked at that individual, like what is the parcel being rezoned to? We corrected it, we put yes, and we just indicated that it is a text amendment, not a map change. So that clarification is just in there. So kind of nitpicky things from our end in terms of how we typically fill out these forms based on state DEC guidance. So I think that's a change to the local law. And then that's a change to the EAF. And then the changes to the local law are, again, clerical. In the table on the page of the local law where it kind of lists, it indicates that obviously conference center is being removed as a permitted use and that catering facility is being added. The districts at the top were the old labels for the districts. They were RD things rather than RA. So those have been changed or vice versa. And then there was a typo in one of the regulations with regards to kind of outdoor activity. The word plant was in there for some reason when it was referring to catering facility buildings. So that word was just changed out to the entity to be catering facility buildings. So those were the minor changes, nothing substantive in terms of the regulations, just again, cleanup items. So I think we can stop there. Jim, if you want to talk about motions, and then we can move to the part 2.
At exhibit N, if you want to see the updated text in its entirety, that's included at exhibit N, which is uploaded to the website, or we can provide you with copies of these.
I think it's also attached to the draft resolution that was posted. The local law, is that what you're referring to, or the EA?
I'm not sure. I have to review so many documents.
The one I printed off the website today did have it attached to it. Yeah, with the changes. Yeah, yeah. To the resolution setting the public hearing.
It is attached to the copy that I have. So, Natalie's gone through this, environmental assessment form, part one, the two changes, that are proposed to it. There's not a necessity for a resolution, but having the board, have somebody, if they're so inclined, make a motion to accept the revisions to the EAF Part One and to authorize the supervisor to execute it, would be appropriate.
Can I add one more thing? I'm sorry, I don't know how familiar everyone is with the form, the EAF form itself. You'll notice that not all the sections of the full form are completed because there's specific guidance. If you're doing just a zoning change, that's going to be a policy level change rather than like reviewing a physical action that's like touching the ground. The DEC tells you to skip sections. So you'll note that there's only 2 or 3 sections in here where information is provided. And that is based on the form's guidance when you're looking at a policy change at this level, right? Because every action after this that actually touches the ground will go through its own seeker review and have to do one of these separately. Sorry, just wanted to add that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
This motion is just to accept the changes made to the EAF?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
It's actually to accept the whole document with those changes.
okay.
You know, it's not just those two.
And this is not to set the public hearing at this time.
That'll be a separate resolution.
I know, I'm just
Yep.
making it clear.
Roll call.
Councilman Harrington is absent. Councilman Redinger.
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier.
Aye.
Councilman McGivney.
Aye.
Councilman Derlin.
No.
Now we move on to
The part 2 document.
please.
Yep. So the final piece we're walking through is the draft part 2. So part 1 is often completed. It's kind of contains information on the action. The action is the adopted local law and the changes there. Part 2 and part 3 are done by you as the lead agency, kind of reviewing that proposed action for potential significant adverse environmental impacts. So we completed a draft, but again, I want to kind of walk through it with you guys tonight. The goal tonight is not to make a seeker determination, right? That's not on the table, but it's simply to kind of flag anything that feels unclear to you as the body that gets the ultimate say over this document. And to get the board's perspective on any kind of things that you maybe need more information on in here or want us to revise kind of prior to the public hearing or post the public hearing. So seeker can be very technical and feel very formulaic. So I'm going to try and keep it at a high level, but the purpose of the part 2, like I said, is, it has the potential to identify any potential significant environmental impacts. It's supposed to be designed for non-experts, and it's essentially kind of like a structured checklist, right? Where you walk through things like land, water, agriculture, traffic, community, character. You kind of walk through that and answer questions. So even if there's no substantive comments tonight, I think the purpose of walking through this document is to give the board the opportunity to review it and provide input before it gets kind of finalized in its draft format. So let me just pull that up. So overall, we'll kind of, there's 18 different sections to the part 2. You will see the same response on a number of these because it is kind of a higher level policy change. There is a response that is appropriate for a number of these. So I won't repeat them all, but I'll read it to you for the first one and I'll indicate where it comes up again. So it's asking, the first question is impact on land. Will the proposed action involve construction on or physical alteration of a land surface of a proposed site, right? So we indicated no. And so although no physical land disturbances are proposed, it is noted that parcels which may be affected by this legislative action do contain land which meet the criteria of the sub-questions A through H below that. So it's acknowledged that any potential future land development applications which may arise after the adoption of this legislation would be subject to their own seeker review based on the merits of an individual land development application. And the threshold impacts would be accordingly identified and addressed based on that individual development. So that comes up a lot, right? Where it's not necessarily appropriate for this action, but we did want to flag it. And then there's attachments of maps. Dutchess County is really lucky that county did a natural resource inventory a few years ago when they did online mapping for all municipalities. So all the things that gets talked about here in terms of wetlands, geology, soils, things like that, there's really amazing maps available where you can zoom in on each parcel. So we attach those as reference, and those should be used by the planning board in the future when they're reviewing individual applications. Similar response was done for number 2, impact on geological features, again, because this is a policy action. Same for 3, which is impacts on surface water. Same for 4, which is impact on groundwater. Same for 5, which is impact on flooding. Impact on air, number 6 says the question asks if the proposed action may include a state regulated air emission source. This one was responded to that the proposed action does not provide for facilities that would involve state regulated emission review. There's no way that that would be permitted under those kind of facilities would be encapsulated under the changes that are being considered, right, of this catering facility. So that one was a different response. That same overarching response in terms of no physical changes was responded for number 7, which is impact on plant and animals. Again, for question 8, which was impact on agricultural resources. Same for 9, impact on aesthetic resources. Same for 10, historic and archaeological. Question 11 asks, does the proposed action result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of open space resources as designated in an adopted municipal open space plan? So for that one, the town of Unionville does not have an adopted municipal open space plan. Therefore, no impact is associated. So that was checked no. 12 talks about there are designated areas called critical environmental areas. The town of Unionville does not contain any of those within the RD10 district. So that was responded to no. There'll be no impacts on that by this action or future. Impact on transportation, again, not a direct impact from the policy change that's being considered. Same for impact on energy, the proposed action, it asks whether you're going to increase the use of energy in any form. So the proposed action is a text amendment to the RD10 district, which is a legislative action. So again, the individual actions that may have impacts on energy will be reviewed when that data is available or those applications are available. And again, that goes for the last 2, which are impact on noise, odor, and light, as well as human health. Sorry, 2 more. 17 is consistency with community plans. So we noted there, you have a memo that is attached to the Part 1 EAF regarding consistency with the master plan. So for 17, we were able to respond, the proposed action is consistent with the town of Unionville master plan as noted, and we referenced our memo. And then same for number 18 is consistency with community character. And the proposed action represents town board's efforts to provide for future growth in town of Unionville and that conforms to goals established in community plans and enhancing community character. That kind of ties to the alignment with the community plan. So with that said, this document, this part 2, this gets attached with a more in-depth narrative. That part 3 is the form of after responding to those questions. Part 3 is kind of whether you declare whether any of these impacts are significant or it gives you space to kind of speak to them more. So there will be a part 3 that kind of goes through those responses and then also kind of consolidates all the analysis that has been done either by KRC or your engineer or the data that was pulled from New York State DOT or that was pulled from Dutchess County Transportation Commission. So all of that kind of comes into the appropriate sections. And so that will be a document that you review in tandem with the part 2 before doing any actions on seeker. So that's, again, it's kind of it's a checklist. You should all have that in front of you. Happy to answer any questions on that, but I think the homework would be for the town board is refamiliarizing yourself with the documents of record and then going through that part 2. And if you had any questions or wanted clarification on anything, we'd be happy to provide that. That's all I have, Jim.
Okay. So, Natalie, do you want to go through the local law? Or no?
Are you asking me to do it, or you do it, or I do it, or are you asking whether it's necessary? I guess I would ask the board.
No, I don't think it's necessary, but I was wondering if you were inclined to go through it. I mean, the board has had the local law, and the changes are the 2 changes that Natalie already mentioned. Part 2 isn't up for a vote tonight. The part 3 is not up for a vote tonight. And obviously the adoption of a local law is not up for a vote tonight. What's up for a vote now is whether to adopt the resolution to set the public hearing.
Yeah, and I think I'm happy if there's questions on what's in the local law or anyone wants a refresher, I'm happy to go through it. But I think we've talked about it in broad strokes, what's in there. You'll kind of see at the top is the definition for catering facility, which is much more kind of targeted and limited than the current definition of conference center. And then, like I said, I think where you'll see the majority of additions are in, obviously, where this is being proposed as a special permit use, which gives the planning board extra kind of review power over it. And so you're able to associate special permit considerations. So there's a long list of design objectives that get associated with this proposed use, the catering facility use. I guess I am going to go through it. So some of the key aspects are there's a clause in here about the exterior of existing houses, barns, and related structures shall be appropriately rehabilitated, right? The intent is kind of preserve these large agricultural and residential uses that are in this area. Formal and informal landscaping, stone walls, entrance gates, anything like that that has kind of a historic nature shall be preserved. New construction has to be sited to have minimum impact on fields, meadows, woodlands. Major grading and changing of topography shall not be permitted. It talks about the preservation of unique natural areas and open spaces on the site. There is an addition which did not exist in the previous one. There's a maximum floor area for dining and bar facilities that would be associated with this use. Talks about access to the site, to these uses from county highway. You have to have kind of direct access. So not all parcels within the RD10 will be eligible. There's significant setback requirements. Facilities, catering facilities have to be set back more than 200. They have to be set back 200 feet from any property line or 500 feet from any exterior wall of an approved kind of, we say, habitable space. So if there's another house on a property next to you, you have to be 500 feet set back from that. So this is kind of trying to keep these uses away from their residential neighbors. There's design criteria for the lodging facilities. You obviously need to go to the Department of Health for sewer and for sanitary. Let me just see if there's any other key ones. I think there's provisions here about any kind of outdoor use. Outdoor activities and what's permitted. There are noise and sound regulations, kind of citing you back to the proposed catering facilities must demonstrate compliance with noise performance standards as outlined in the existing sections of the code. Planning board can add additional restrictions. Lighting, there's lighting in terms of kind of making sure there's not glare or anything going on to adjacent properties. Outdoor fixtures, we kind of limit height and stuff. We added some best practices in terms of dark sky compliant lighting based on public comment. Yeah, so I think that's the overview. If you kind of go through that, that is the majority of the local law, is like all the considerations that are specifically placed on this use that the planning board will have to look through and evaluate when these applications come before them. I hope that's helpful.
So the local law is annexed, an exhibit to a resolution to set the public hearing. So I come back to whether someone is inclined to make a motion to adopt the resolution to set the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I kind of find it hard to believe that this is back on the agenda, to be honest with you. I think we discussed this ad nauseum. I know that there was differing opinions on this board. I think that we can all agree that the reason that we were here was for that one project. And that project seems to have pulled out for the time being. I don't understand why we're here. We've spent so much money on consultants for this one little change when we have all agreed that most of the town code needs a comprehensive look. And we already started with the town center. We did that one. Now, if we were going to do another one, we could do the RD10, but we should do a comprehensive look at the RD10 district, not just this one little thing, because if we go one thing, do it right now, we're going to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and fight with everybody in town about these little things. I think if we want to spend our money wisely, we can certainly go district by district or revisit the master plan and try to come up with a more comprehensive approach to some of the issues that we know we have in the code. There's no doubt we have issues in the code, but to continue down this road with this one little thing that we know has a ton of problems, nobody in the public agreed, was in favor of it. The board is split on it. I don't see why we're revisiting this now again when that project has been pulled and now we can take a breath and do something a little more comprehensive.
Any other comments?
Work's been done. It's a common sense change. It makes sense. So we can still do everything else together. There's no reason not to follow through with the work that's already been done on this, which there was a specific need to do this because it didn't make sense to have a conference center. This is logical. And it's not about just that parcel now, and that further reinforces some of the criticisms as not necessarily being about spot zoning because it's not about that parcel now, and we're still looking to adopt a resolution because it makes sense townwide. And it's per the master plan. So those are my comments.
Well, the master plan hasn't been revisited in 25 years, number one. And I agree that there are issues with the code and there are issues maybe even with the conference center thing. But why don't we just table it and then say, all right, let's take a look at RD10 since there's no pressing application in front of us. Table the whole thing. We've already spent the money. We already have it pre-written, but then put it part of a comprehensive look at the RD10 district itself. And we could start there and then we can go to another one next year. But to continue down this road when we know that there's problems, it's unfavorable to everybody that has come in here besides the people that were directly involved in it. I don't see the advantage to that.
Any other comments? Do you have a copy of that resolution I can read off? Okay. Local law amending zoning code article 9 or 11 rather. 210-86, 210-56, and an attachment 210-3 related to the establishment of a special permit in the RD10 district for catering facilities with a temporary lodging component and the elimination of conference. Oh, this, first title is of the resolution of the Town of Union or Town of Unionville Town Board to set a public hearing in the matter of what I just read here. Following resolution was offered by myself and seconded by, was Josh, right? Okay, it was seconded by Josh, who moved its adoption. Whereas on October 2nd, 2024, Supervisor Frazier introduced a local law for the town of Unionville to be known as Local Law Number 2 of 2024. Local law amending zoning code article 11, 210-86, 210-56, and attachment 210-3 relating to the establishment of a special permit in the RD10 district for catering facilities with a temporary lodging component and the elimination of conference centers as a permitted use in the RD10 district. Original proposed law, which would have amended 210-3, 210-56, and 210-86 as set forth in the proposed local law attached hereto and incorporated herein, as if recited herein. And whereas pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, the town board on October 2nd, 2024, reviewed a full environmental assessment form, FEAF, and determined that adopting the original proposed local law was a type 1 action for SECRA purposes, and also determined that it would be a SECRA lead agency, and whereas the original proposed local law was referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development on October 17th, 2024, pursuant to General Municipal Law 239-M, and to the Town of Unionville Planning Board pursuant to Town Code 210-83A. And whereas duly noticed public hearing on the original proposed law was held on October 16th, 2024, at which hearing there were no comments made by the public, the town board discussed the original proposed law, voted to remove paragraph 13B relating to parking requirements, and then resolved to continue the public hearing at a later date. Whereas Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development responded to the town's GML 239-M referral on November 6, 2024, and advised that the action was a matter of local concern with comments. And whereas the board received comment from the Town of Unionville Planning Board on November 14th, 2024, which proposed one revision to section 17B of the original proposed local law, and with said revision made a favorable recommendation of the local law. And whereas the original proposed local law was modified after considering the comments of the Dutchess County Planning Department and discussion with the town board at the October 16th, 2024 meeting to provide land banked parking in lieu of immediate construction, to require lodging facilities not to be used by transient guests not associated with the event on site, to limit the maximum footprint of a facility to 5,000 square feet, to propose outdoor activity prior to 10 a.m., to prohibit indoor activity prior to 10 a.m. and after midnight, to require that no noise be heard on adjacent properties prior to 10 a.m. or after 10 p.m., and to allow the planning board to require a noise analysis and lighting plan prior to issuance of a special use permit. And whereas these modifications were incorporated into and reflected in a redrafted local law, the first revised proposed local law, which was reintroduced on November 20th, 2024, and for consideration of the public hearing to be held December 4th, 2024. Whereas the first revised proposed local law was again referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development on November 22nd, 2024, pursuant to General Municipal Law 239-M, and to the Town of Unionville Planning Board pursuant to Town Code 210-83. And whereas a duly noticed public hearing on the first revised proposed local law was held on December 4th, 2024, at which hearing all wishing to be heard were heard, including community members who voiced concerns regarding the proposed local law, and at the conclusion of the board tabled the vote to await Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development's response, and to potentially extend the public hearing. And whereas the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development responded on December 18th, 2024, this time deeming the action a matter of local concern with no additional comments. And the Town of Unionville Planning Board submitted no further comment to the town board on the first revised proposed local law. And whereas another duly noticed public hearing on the first revised proposed local law was held on February 5th, 2025, at which hearing community members voiced their comments and concerns, and 2 additional written responses or correspondences were received. And whereas A second revised proposed local law was prepared, which incorporated changes in response to public comments received during the February 5th, 2025 public hearing and planning recommendations of consultants to increase the minimum lot size from 50 acres to 75 acres and strengthen performance standards for noise, lighting, and outdoor use to ensure that operations will remain in line with community character and minimize disturbance to neighboring properties. And whereas the town board, when reintroduced the second revised proposed local law, directed at that public hearing be held on May 21, 2025, and again direct a referral to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development and Unionville Planning Board, and further directed that notices be sent to the clerks of the adjoining towns. And whereas in April 2025 reintroduction resolution, this board, having considered the new FEAF, which was attached to it, again determined that this was a type 1 action and declared itself lead agency. And whereas the second revised proposed local law was referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development and the Unionville Planning Board on April 22nd, 2025, and notice of the hearing was given to the contiguous towns. And whereas the town board received a response from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development on May 7th, 2025, stating that adopting the proposed law was a matter of local concern with no comment. No additional comments were received from the Unionville Planning Board. And whereas the duly noticed public hearing on the second revised proposed local law was opened May 21st, 2025, at which all of those who desired were heard. On the second revised proposed local law were heard. And the hearing was held open to be continued at the June 4th, 2025 town board meeting at the 7 p.m. town hall. And whereas the public hearing was continued on June 4th, 2025, at which time all interested parties were heard, and the board again voted to continue the hearing to July 16th, 2025, town board meeting at 7 p.m. at town hall. Whereas the public hearing was continued on July 16th, 2025, at which time all interested parties for and against the second revised proposed local law were heard, and the board voted unanimously to close the public hearing. And whereas the board further discussed the second revised proposed local law at the August 27, 2025 meeting and voted to authorize the town consultants to proceed with the preparation of the necessary documentation. And whereas the text of the second revised proposed local law was inconsequentially corrected to amend 2 clerical errors. The schedule of use regulations at 210 attachment 3 was revised to correctly refer to the RA5, RA3, and R1 zoning districts. And the term plant at section 210-56 E17C 14A was corrected to catering facility building. The corrected text is attached here too. And whereas the correction of these typographical errors is not a substantive change to the proposed law, now to be known as local law number 1 of 2026, and therefore does not require referral to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. And whereas in its further review of the second proposed local law and potential impacts on environment, this town has received and considered additional reports and documentation, which it now seeks to add to the record of these proceedings. And whereas this town board seeks to provide additional opportunity for the public to respond and comment on the information contained in these documents, now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing to be held on February 4th, 2026 at the Unionville Town Hall in relation to the adoption of the second revised proposed local law. Be it further resolved that the town board authorizes the town clerk to circulate a notice of public hearing adjacent municipalities in accordance with General Municipal Law, GML 239-NN. Be it further resolved that notice of said public hearing shall be posted and published in an official newspaper in general circulation in the town of Unionville by the town clerk at least 10 days before such hearing, and such notice shall be in the following form. Notice of public hearing, take notice at the town board of the town of Unionville will hold a public hearing at Town Hall 249 Duncan Road, LaGrangeville, New York, 12540, in the town of Unionville on February 4th, 2026 at 7:00 PM prevailing time on proposed local law number 1 of 2026 for the town of Unionville, Dutchess County, New York, being a local law amending zoning code Article 11, 210-86, 210-56E, and attachment 210-3 relating to the establishment of a special permit in the RD10 district for catering facilities with a temporary lodging component of the elimination of the conference centers as permitted use in the RD10 district as revised. 1, copies of the corrected second proposed local law and all supplemental documentation received as of February 3rd, 2026 to be considered by the town board thereat will be available for examination at the office of the clerk of the town of Unionville at the Town Hall 249 Duncan Road, LaGrangeville, New York, 12554, at least 24 hours prior to the date of the public hearing and on the town's website at www.unionvilleny.gov. And all persons interested shall have an opportunity to be heard on said proposal at the time and place aforesaid. In addition, in-person viewing, the public hearing will be held on Zoom and carried on the Town of Unionville's YouTube channel for live viewing. Access at www.unionvilleny.gov. The Zoom invite for this public hearing will be published along with the meeting ID and passcode. The Zoom invite will also be posted on the Town of Unionville website, www.unionvilleny.gov, the morning of the public hearing. If you wish to be called upon to comment during the public hearing while participating on Zoom, you can place your name on a list by contacting the town clerk at townclerk@unionvilleny.gov or 845-724-5600. In-person attendees will be able to sign up when entering this room. For any other questions, contact the town clerk at townclerk@unionvilleny.gov or 845-724-5600, dated January 21st, 2026, Unionville, New York. We've had a motion and a second on this. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Harrington is absent. Councilman Rettinger.
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier.
Aye.
Councilman McGivney. Councilman Durland.
No.
Okay, thank you. Public comment on town issues. Okay, a motion to pay the bills.
Make the motion.
Second, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're gonna move into executive session to interview the candidate for the planning board. When we return, there will be no further business. You're welcome to stay. Our next meeting will be February 4th here at 7:30, and you heard that we will have a public hearing just prior to that.
Real quick, are we not going to act on the planning board interview?
No.
Is there no chance? I'm just saying in case.
Well, I guess, well, we could, I suppose, if everybody's,
We should leave the option open.
okay, all right, we may act on this interview. I was gonna have the attorney draw up the resolution, but we can at least make that vote to do that.
What do you think, eh?
I like the latter.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, so we may decide to authorize the attorney to draw us up a resolution. Thank you very much.
Oh, did you motion?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thanks. Thanks for keeping me straight. You set there? Okay, motion to come back to the regular meeting.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Well, opposed, anybody opposed? No, thank you. No funds were allocated and no decisions were made. Based on the interview, We all know Darren for quite some time. And we appreciate everything he has done here, but based on the interview, I would like to make a motion that we advise the attorney to drop a resolution to appoint Darren Sampson to the planning board vacancy.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And now we are at the point that I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you next February 4th.